Hello everyone, welcome back to the shed on a particularly blowy and wet Saturday afternoon. Thought today I'd take a look at some new tools that have been sent in to us. These are punch and die sets that have been created and manufactured by RP Toolz. They were sent in for us to have a look at and hopefully use over some of the new projects that are going to be coming up this year. These are a really useful group of tools to have around the workshop. If you want to develop away from simple kit construction and you'd like to develop your skills into detailing and that kind of thing, having a punch and die set is a really useful thing to have around. They allow you to create very tiny plastic discs, and also, if you buy a separate set, hexagonal shapes that you can then use in and around a model to literally punch out the detail. So they are very useful. They've been around a long time now. I've got a set that I had, I think 25 years ago, that I bought from Hysterex Agents. Not particularly good, but they've served me okay over time. The edges have become a little bit ragged and they're not sharp as they used to be, so when I'm punching plasticard to create fine detail, they tend to have slightly ragged edges on them and they don't really cut that well. So I was looking for an alternative set, and then these things started to be marketed, and I thought, well, I'll give these a look and see what they're like. There are two sets here. One of them is a circular set, this one here, and one of them is a hexagonal set, this one here. You buy these separately. The circular set, the first one we're going to look at, this creates discs that are sized from 0.5 of a millimetre all the way up to 2 millimetre, and within this box you have punches, 16 of them, that allow graduations all the way between that 0.5 and 2 mil sizing. In the second set here, this is the hexagonal one. This runs from 0.7 millimetre up to 2 millimetre, and there are 6 punches in here. Now, 3 of the punches that are within this box are double, so that means that within the die there are 2 holes for 3 of the sizes, so that allows you to punch 2 lots in each case. This one here, the circular one, all of the punches are individual and they work within the individual holes in the die. They're beautifully manufactured, these punch and die sets. The machining on all of the parts is absolutely superb. The base is machined out of a very tough metal covered with another tough layer of what looks to be perspex, and then the 2 sections are held together by threaded screws that allow the 2 plates to tighten up over the top of the plasticard. In the sets that I've got, the earlier sets, basically there were just 2 pins and then the perspex slotted over the top of that, so it was kind of flimsy and it allowed it to move and that kind of thing. This doesn't. Once those plates are tightened together, you'll find that the plasticard stays in position, and then you can just hammer the punch rather through the die without it shifting, without it moving, so you get like a perfect shape each time. The dies themselves are marked with numbers that correspond with numbers that are printed on the edge of each of the punches, so you can't mix them up. You instantly see by looking at the top of the punch where that's going to go into the die plate. There's no guessing, no thinking, well, I'll try this one, is this the right size? It shows you straight away. That works on both the circular one and also the hexagonal one as well. That's a really good idea. And along with the die plate and the punches, you also get little metal hammers inside here, these things, which look to be made out of aluminium. They're a nice kind of weight, so there's no looking around the workshop for something that'll allow you to hit the punch through the die. You get those supplied. So within a set here you have a box of dies, a box of punches. These ones here. These are the punches. So you get a box of 16 in here. You have the die itself with all of the numbers written on it, and also the little hammer. So for your money, that's what you get. You get these three individual items, and then this is repeated in the hexagonal set as well. Now, it should be said right from the off, these things aren't cheap. They're not £20 tools, they are expensive to buy. However, the quality of what you get within the box, the machining of each individual section certainly makes up for any outlay that you will have to endure to purchase one of these. These are very high grade tools, in the same way as you would buy a high grade airbrush or a high grade machine tool. These are very high grade, and as a result of that, once you've bought one of these, I doubt for most modelers who are going to be using these on a reasonably regular basis, you'll ever need to replace it. They are really excellent and worth every penny that you spend on these. So what I'll do is I'll do a quick close-up of these to show you what they look like, and also how they work, and what you need to do to punch the shapes out. And then you can make up your own mind as to whether or not you think they're worthwhile, and you think that they're something that would be a good addition to your workshop. So let's take a quick look at them. So this is the die plate here. You can see that on the surface of the perspex there are numbers from 0.5 of a millimetre here all the way up to 2 millimetres. Those numbers then correspond to numbers that are printed on the edge of the punches, on the end of the punches rather. You can see there's a number 2. That corresponds with the 2 millimetre hole that you see at the far end of the plate. Then this one here, this is the other extreme. This is the 0.5 millimetre, and this fits in to this 0.5 millimetre hole just here. The manufacture of these parts and the tolerance between the punches and also the die plate is such that they slide in very tightly into those, but there's no kind of real movement between those two sections, and that means that when you cut the discs using the plasticard, you're getting a perfectly sharp section each time you cut it. You can also see here that there is a hammer. That's this thing here, and this is used to gently knock the punch through the die plate. Along with those features, you also have these 2 threaded screws, one at either end. These are used to trap the card that is passed between the metal lower plate and the perspex upper plate, and then once in position you can tighten these up and it holds that securely in place, and then once it's held securely in place, you can put the punch through the hole, hold it in, and then simply hit it, and it passes through the plasticard. And then if we turn it over, we have a perfectly cut disc that's 2 millimeters across of thin plasticard. The second set that we've got here provides 6 punches that create hexagonal shapes from 0.7 of a millimetre here to 2 millimetre. Along with those 6 hexagon shapes, you also have 3 punches in here that allow you to cut an individual hexagonal piece of plasticard and a corresponding circular section, and they are both of those punches are machined into one individual piece. The design is such that in order that you don't mix up which way those duplicated punches go into the die plate, the hexagonal section is the lower punch and the circular section is the upper punch, and that is shown by the annotation of the number on the head of the punch there. So with the die plate facing towards you and the number in its right orientation, you know that that punch is going to go accurately into its die plate in the correct way. You don't have to check that. Once again, these are incredibly easy to use in the same way as the circular sections. You simply take your sheet of plastic card, we'll cut it into a smaller section this time. Slide that through the two plates, tighten the plates up. We'll use the largest punch here, this is the 2mm one. Carefully slot that into the die plate and then hit it. And out pops a perfect hexagon. The sharpness of these punches and the accuracy of the die and the way that that's cut means that there are no ragged edges on these new sections, so there's no cleaning up necessary, and that means that they're perfect for you if you want to create hexagonal bolts, that kind of thing. If you're scratch building something that needs a load of hex bolts on it, you can also use them to create nuts that then can be decorated with circular sections from the other punch to create the screw section that goes on top, so they become more three-dimensional. These sets work extremely well in that sense, in that you are creating consistent parts each time. So when you look at these, you know that these are perfectly circular, you know that the hexagons are perfectly machined, and that you know each time you cut those, the pieces that you cut will be accurate and sharp. So there you go, nice simple video on a set of tools that I think everybody would find useful, certainly those who are going to develop their skills a little bit. I mentioned while I was showing you how these things work that you could use them 72nd scale through to 35th. You probably could use them for scales beyond that as well. I know that there are modelers out there, David Parker in particular I think is the sort of modeler that would use these things on 16th scale builds, that kind of thing. So they are very flexible, and they're certainly the kind of tool I think that you would purchase, and once you have them and begin to use them, you wonder how you kind of got by without having them around. They're certainly very useful when you're scrapping around trying to find ways of creating certain small shapes. There are other ways of doing that, obviously. If you wanted to create small circular discs, you can slice plastic rod and that kind of thing. So there are alternatives. I'm not suggesting this is the only way of creating those parts, but this is certainly the easiest and most consistent way of creating the kind of detail that a lot of modelers will use these days to either super detail a standard plastic kit or detail a model that maybe they're making from scratch. So I can highly recommend these things. The quality of them really leads you to draw no other conclusion. They are so well manufactured and so well thought out as a product. It would be wrong of me to have any kind of negativity levelled at them. I mentioned earlier that they're expensive. That's certainly the case, but they're more than worthwhile, and I can only keep reinforcing that within this video. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing RP's punch and die sets, and as with everything that I try and create on this channel, this video will be bulked out with a blog section as well, so you'll be able to see some detailed photographs of these punch and dies, and it'll give you a sense of how they look. So take a read of that. I'll put the link in with this video so you'll be able to see that. So thanks once again for watching. Thanks to everybody that watched the previous videos, and I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye.